Hi, well, I'm Louise Cooke with Genealogy Gems podcast, and I am very happy to welcome to the show Janet Broglin, certified genealogist here at the Southern California Genealogical Jamboree. Welcome, Janet.
Welcome. It's nice to see you and meet you. I'm so glad.
Nice to meet you too. And you know, we were going to sit down and we were going to talk about the probate process, and we'll do that.
Okay.
But you had something really fun happen just in the last 20 minutes, and it's a story about maybe what you can discover at a conference. Tell us what genealogical finds you got.
Talk about a genealogy gem. This was it. Last year, when we were out here at Southern California Jamboree, my husband came with me, and I had been threatening to have a DNA test for him. His grandfather was illegitimate, so we're not talking that far back.
Right.
So he finally relented to having the DNA test. Now, I am not... I don't understand it that much. You know, give me
DNA and that whole thing,
yes. And so since Family Tree DNA is here, I went over to them and I said, I'm just not coming up with things. And he said, well, you have it listed under Fuller. Why do you think it's Fuller? And I said, well, one on my husband's grandfather's death certificate, it has Broglin as the father, which can't be because he deserted during the Civil War and went to Missouri, and mom's having kids back in Tennessee. But however, Grandpa's brother's death certificate said Fuller as the last name. Well, you cannot assume in genealogy that it's going to be the same father. So I went over there and they did a check, and we have two 37 marker exact matches to the name Shipley. Shipley. S-H-I-P-L-E-Y. It's like, and
that would have been a needle in a haystack. When would you have ever looked down the Shipley line for your folks?
Not at all. Now, here's something even more strange. I'm telling the lady who's at the California Alliance table next to me, and she heard me say Shipley, and she said, I have Shipleys. She said, where? I said, Roane County, Tennessee. That's where her Shipleys are from, is Roane County, Tennessee. So you don't know what you're going to find when you come to a conference. You absolutely don't know what's going to
An amazing story of genealogical serendipity, and yet I suppose very likely that something like that could happen. There are thousands of people here, and they're all putting out that information and trying to connect up, and wow, what an amazing way to connect up.
And I looked at it, and it's like, and then there's one it says one generation removed, and then two generations, and they're all Shipleys. And it has their email addresses, and when I get home, I'm going to be finding out. So I'm absolutely thrilled, amazed. I can't believe, flabbergasted, and all the other adjectives.
So what you really, it sounds like, discovered is if you can match up the markers, it's not that the DNA test itself is going to tell you who your relatives are, but what it does is it allows you to connect with somebody else who has also run a test, and then you can swap information, photographs, whatever. Oh.
They may not know of any of the Broglins.
Yeah.
So
they may be doing the genealogical happy dance when they hear from you and realize.
I am doing the happy dance. I am just ecstatic. I can't believe this. So this has been a very, very exciting last half hour. Yeah. And I went out, my husband's out by the pool, and I went out there, guess what? And I just could hardly sit still.
Well, you heard it here first. On Genealogy Gems, a gem of a find. Well, besides just breaking open brick walls in your family tree, you're doing a few other things here at the conference, and I know that teaching is one of those things. Tell us what kinds of topics you're teaching on.
Yesterday I did one on newspaper research. As I reiterate that it's probably the most time-consuming of any of the research, because you start reading all the articles. And you get really frustrated when you see chuck roast for 39 cents a pound. but seriously, with the older newspapers, you do not know where something is going to appear. So you have to read page by page to be able to find it, and then be able to cite your source and make sure that you can always go back and find it by identifying not only the newspaper, but the page and column, so that you know exactly where it is. So that was on yesterday. And this afternoon we have one called The Proof is in the Pudding. And we're talking about the genealogical proof standard and how you don't have to be a professional to do professional type research. Yes. And
that's near and dear to my heart. We've covered that in the Family History Genealogy Made Easy podcast, and I interviewed Mark Tucker, who's very involved with that, with Think Genealogy, and I thought that was such an important point to make, was that you don't have to wait until you're a certified genealogist to use the proof standard, and you certainly wouldn't want to, because if you've neglected citing sources up till now, it's just going to be a ton of work, right, to go back.
Absolutely. And if you can start with your source citations as you start your research, then I don't know about you, but when I start, I'll remember where I got it. I'm lucky I remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone trying to remember where I got something, or the library I found, or the repository. But on something like this, we're going to discuss my grandfather instead of my husband's, and some of the conflicts I have found on that, and how we can try to make it better.
And that proof standard goes beyond just the source citation. It's really forcing you to answer certain questions and go through a certain path. And don't you find then that when you come up against a brick wall or a conflict with somebody else's research, it's great because you have a better place to start to try to find out where the breakdown is, right?
And also, what is the best type of document?
Yeah.
Are you using a derivative source, something that has been transcribed by someone else, and not looking at the original? Mm-hmm. And always want to try to get the original if you can. And then tomorrow we have one on the probate process, and what you can find if they have a will or if they have an estate, if they die intestate. And there's a lot of great things that you can find, everything from inventories to find out what they had. And I found one in Kentucky, can't remember the county, and it was a doctor. And when he died, it lists every medicine in his inventory. And he might not be your ancestor, but these are the medicines that they were treated with.
Right.
So it was a great find.
Did he have any of his patients? I know my husband's family owned a hardware store, and when the great-grandfather died, there was a complete accounting of everybody who owed him money in any form.
Yes, you can find that. You can find doctors' registers on when they treated the patient. I mean, it's a wealth of information that can be found in one of the packets.
And that's why when I saw Jana was going to be here at the conference, I wanted to talk to you about that probate process, because I knew it was an area of your expertise, and just kind of interested in a quick overview of what the process is, and a sense of how much of that can be done online, and how much do we, because I know every type of source document has a different capability of online versus offline.
On something with working for a will, you might find that somebody has actually scanned it in because it's their family. But are you going to find Fulton County, Ohio estates online? No.
Okay.
No. You're going to have to go to the courthouses, because when you think of the overwhelming number of pages that can be even in one packet, and you multiply that by everybody who died within the county and trying to get the images scanned in, either get a volunteer or a court employee to do it. Yeah. So you can. This is when you plan a vacation and you go to the courthouse. It's amazing what you can find in them. You might find when a coffin was made. You might find guardianship records because of the fact that there were underage children. And it's something to remember. It's just because there's a guardianship record, it doesn't mean both parents are dead. It could just mean that the father is deceased, and a guardian would be appointed for the child. And it could be very, very well be the mom.
Right.
But with the guardianship records, it may take all the records from the time that the dad, say, would die until that child becomes of age. You might find tuition to schools and the school listed. You might find shoe leather to have shoes made, or calico for a dress. They're fascinating.
Well, so let's say we took your newspaper class and we found an obituary and we've confirmed a death date. Now, where do we go first if we know we're not going to go online? Go to the courthouse.
Out of the courthouse. Now, there are different courts of record. So you'd have to research now, is it in Indiana and what is that going to be called, or is it in Nevada, or is it Ohio or New York?
So each jurisdiction may have a different name for it.
A different name,
Okay.
but you're still going to look to where the wills and estates are located. And for example, in Ohio, it's probate court. So I would go to the probate court and I would look in the indexes of the testators and find out, or a general index.
And just ask for that at the front counter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can ask it for it at the counter, and they would give you the volume of general index to wills. And you would go through it, and it would have the person's name, and whether it was a will or an estate, if there was an administrator or an executor, so that gives you some clues right there. And then you request that packet, or from a will box. And they're very, very good. I mean, the people in the courts, they have a lot to do, but they're so willing to help. They are so willing to help.
And you mentioned, and I think this was the case in my own most recent probate record, was that it can be many, many pages. In fact, I remember one courthouse even asking me, do you want to pay for every single page? Because it turned out that many of the pages were actually like a duplicate of a duplicate, or it seemed like there was a lot of, or blank pages with very little on them.
You would find that, but one of the things that we tend to overlook when we're looking at these are the vouchers or the receipts. Because you might have in the early where a woman legally could not inherit, that her husband is signing for her part of the estate. So now you're getting a clue as to her name.
Right.
So you're having that. So it is important then to get the copies of the receipts, and it's in their handwriting. So now you've got their original signatures.
So it might be worth the investment of getting all the pages and knowing, particularly because it is a document where this is not going to be something that we can jump back online and look at again. This is our chance, right?
This is the chance. And by able to have it with the original signatures, it always means a lot more. Yeah. But if you're requesting it in writing from the court, it's wise to ask how much it would cost to have it copied, and if there's a way that numerous documents can be put on one page, like the vouchers.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and that can save you a few pennies.
Well, see, right there, you've given us some great starting points, so we feel like we can take it on. And I know we can learn more from you because you also write for some of the magazines. Tell us where we can find some of your published articles.
I have articles in Family Tree magazine. I did the one on the Ohio Guide for research, and I have had articles published in Ancestry magazine as well as the Ohio Genealogy News, which is OGN, is what we call it.
And do you have a blog, a website, anything that we can track you down online?
I have a website. It's janabroglin.com. It's really hard to come up with that one. And I have a blog which I'm going to take down because I don't keep it current. And that I do client research, and I have so much fun doing that and getting involved in it that it's like, I haven't written anything for 3 months.
You haven't found a way to put 27 hours in a day yet? Because I'm waiting to hear if there's a way to do it.
I don't know, but I've had other people that I'm trying to find out how they've done it too. Yes.
Well, Jana, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Great information, and we'll look for your articles in some of these upcoming magazines.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. I'm so glad that I've had this opportunity. And, as an aside, I am with the Federation of Genealogical Societies. And we're having a conference September 2nd through 5th in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, and then the following year we'll be in Knoxville, Tennessee in 2010, and in 11 we'll be in Springfield, Illinois.
Wow, they really do have to plan way ahead, don't they? Because it's a big job.
It is. It's a very big job. And when you look at this wonderful conference here at Jamboree, I think that a lot of us that attend and have these wonderful finds don't realize the number of hours that goes into not only the conference chair, but all these wonderful volunteers that bring it together. And I commend anybody who has volunteered either for a conference or for their own local society, because without volunteers, we wouldn't be here.
Every single one of them makes a difference.
They do.
Well said. Well, I will have links for you in the show notes and also the dates for the upcoming FGS conferences so that you can find out more information.
Thank you
Thanks
so
again,
much.
Jana.
Thank you.